Hey everyone, Jeremy here, and today I am reviewing Stranger Things Season 5. Now, I kind of waited just a little bit longer because of a theory going around called Conformity Gate. Now, I knew in my heart that it just wasn't going to happen. This theory was not going to pan out the way everyone wanted it to, but I still had to wait just to see if it was going to come out because who knows? You never know. You might be surprised of what people can really think of. But this was just, I think it was people were, reaching. They were really reaching for another episode because of how this season ended. Like, I get it. I get why fans don't really like this season that much. Actually, people put it as probably the worst one out of all of them. Not to say that this season was bad, but out of all the seasons, this one, for most people or for a lot of people, this was at the bottom or near the bottom. So yeah, but I'm gonna give you all my thoughts, all my reactions, everything that I liked about this season and everything I didn't like about this season, because this season was not perfect. The season was not great, but nonetheless, I had some fun watching it because it was the last season of Stranger Things. There were some good moments. There were some really pumped up moments, really exciting moments that we got to see. And I'm sure a lot of us can agree on a lot of the takes that I'm about to say. So I'm going to be breaking this up into parts. So we're going to do volume 1 and then volume 2. And then maybe we'll just talk about the finale as its separate thing because it did come out at a different release time and it came out in theaters. So without further ado, let's get right into the review. First, let's start with volume 1. Volume 1 is probably the most rewatched volume that I rewatched. It was probably the most rewatched for me. Just because of when it came out, I was just excited to see it. It's a new season. This is the last season. And honestly, I think also because of the gap that we had from volume 1 and then volume 2, I just had a lot of time to rewatch this season. And I actually really enjoy it. In the beginning, they start off with a banger. They start off with Will in the Upside Down in season 1. So this is him when he's little. And we're seeing him trying to, escape and run from a Demogorgon. Now, this is the way you want to kick off the last season because this is something that we've never seen before. We never seen the struggles that Will has went through. We only seen him basically when he's in the Upside Down. You can't really do anything, right? So they take it a step further in the first episode and who brought him there, because he didn't get there just by himself. You know what I mean? There had to be somebody who brought him there, and they finally showed that it was Vecna that brought him there. And this is something that we kind of already knew, but just to see it was just really good to start off the season. But also, what we saw was Will and how he wasn't really, like, he was scared, of course. He's a kid. He's going to be scared of all these monsters. But he was going crazy in there. He was making these jumps. He was climbing. He was using a gun. He was going crazy. Let's be honest. Like, we did not expect Will to be doing that in the Upside Down against these monsters. Like, he was on full survivor mode, and this was something that we like to see as fans. Like, Will being like that as a little kid. So he's got some fight in him, and we know he's got some fight in him. So what a great way to start off season 5. But then this is where it gets a little bit iffy for a lot of people, is when it cuts to 18 months later after season 4. Now, if you guys don't remember what happened in season 4, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows what happens in season 4 at the end, there is a big old gate opening in the ground, upside down, just split open. So Hawkins is split open in a lot. So that was something crazy to see because that's where it ended in season 4. Everyone's just looking at Hawkins being cracked, and we're like, wow, this is actually going to be crazy. The upside down is now open in Hawkins, right? And this is something that a lot of people can see now. It's not hidden. So this is going to be crazy. How are the people of Hawkins going to, respond to this? How is the crew going to respond to this? And it just goes to 18 months later. Basically, the military is now taking over of the spot. It's tough to believe that they didn't want to start off with Hawkins just from that moment they left off in season 4. I felt that if they started off where they ended in season 4, they would have got a whole different storyline would have been better. Not to say that I didn't like the season, I did, but if they would have started like in a post apocalyptic storyline within after season 4, where everyone's trying to survive Hawkins being split up, because it's the upside down, right? So that means Demogorgon, Demodogs, bats are going to be coming out, right? That's what you think is going to happen, but that's not what happened. They went in totally different direction. So they went into the direction of, okay, well, we're going to close these things off and there's not going to be anything coming out of the Upside Down, which I think is kind of it's kind of weird. It doesn't really make that much sense to me, but nonetheless, that's what they decided to do. So we're just going to, we're going to go with that. One of the good things about this season, about the first volume as well, is that the crew is together. So this is probably the first time that the crew is together throughout the whole season for the most part. Like they're either planning together, they're in contact together, or at least they try to be until they get lost and they get split up. Of course, it's going to happen because there's different jobs that they need to do. That's a really good part of this season, is that everyone's together. You see that a lot in the season, and even when they get split up, they get brought back. You know what I'm saying? We see Elle training, which is cool. She's having her Luke Skywalker moment of when she's training to beat Vecna, because Vecna's getting stronger, but Elle is getting stronger as well. So we have to take that into account. Now she can do like a force jump basically, and she can stop herself as well to, for the impact of the landing, which is cool. She's growing her powers. She is getting better and better by every day. She's getting faster. She's getting stronger. But so is Vecna. So, that is something that's cool. It's a really cool, Rocky moment, Luke Skywalker, however you want to say it. But she's training, and that's something that we love to see, is her training, right? Let's talk about the kids for a moment. We see Mike have a leadership role in this season, a little bit more in the first volume. That kind of goes away in the later volumes. He's just kind of there, but he's still there. Dustin and how he's grieving after what happened in season 4 because of Eddie. He looked up to Eddie. He loved Eddie. It's really haunting him. It's really hurting him. But him going through that grief is also hurting his friends. It's hurting the party. It's hurting everybody in the crew. And he doesn't really know how to deal with it. He doesn't know how to handle it. And this is kind of what happened with Max in season 4. I think maybe with Max it was a little bit more crazy because you kind of cut everybody off. And so that's a little bit different. They took a little different spin on it. But nonetheless, they both grieved. And they're both grieving in different ways. And now Dustin's being more rebellious. And he's kind of asking for a beating. Like, obviously, he doesn't want a beating, but he's doing things that a lot of people don't want him doing and don't like him doing, which is wearing the Hellfire shirt. And as we know in season 4, everyone thinks that Eddie killed Chrissy or whatever, right? So that is something that we have to take into account, is that everyone still thinks Eddie is the villain, which we know he is not. He's one of the most beloved characters in season 4. So that's something that Dustin's going through, and it's really hurting him. It's really hurting the crew, and it's really hurting the relationship between him and Steve. And we see that a lot in this first volume because they are just going at it every time they get a scene together. And then we have Lucas, of course. He's staying loyal to Max. He is going by her side at the hospital, and he's still playing her music. So that's something that's really cool in this, because he's, even throughout everything that's going on, he still loves her. He's still with her, and that's like one of the best couples in in the whole Stranger Things show. So there's that. And then we have Will, of course, who is this kind of, he's there. He is trying not to be put in danger by his mom. Let's go to Holly. Holly is not a new character, but they brought in a new actor to play a more older Holly. She did really good. I mean, she was one of the good parts about this show. The only thing about the character Holly that I didn't like was I felt that she had too much runtime, and I think it was confirmed that she had more runtime than some of the main cast. So that bothers me a little bit, just because we want to focus on the main characters. This is the last season. You don't really have time to be focusing on somebody who just kind of like just got there, even though she's been there for like ever. But like I'm saying, as a main kind of role, you don't want her to be the main character or to be the one that has the most minutes. You just don't want that happening in the last season. So I thought that was a weird choice, but that's volume 1. There's still a lot to talk about. We see Max coming back, and that's cool. So she's in the dream world, which I think is pretty cool, because we don't really know where she's at this point. So that was a good decision to make. I like that. Volume 1, it had its mistakes, its ups, and it had its down. We have Mr. Whatsit, who is Henry, aka Vecna, trying to get these kids to go with him so he can have like his own evil plan, which of course the kids don't know about it. But we have Derek, who's also involved in that, who's also a new character who is really good. He's really funny as well, and he's just somebody that a lot of people can not connect to, but a lot of people just like in general. So that's a good addition to the volume and to the show. So that's volume 1, which I think is a pretty good start for the volume, but it's when it really gets good is the last episode, because we see, of course, Hopper is trying to, of course, again, kill himself, sacrifice himself to defeat Vecna, because he doesn't want to lose another daughter. That's been his main goal, no matter the consequences, even if he himself dies. I mean, that's the whole point of sacrificing himself, and which it's something that we see again, and it's kind of like repetitive in a way. I knew he wasn't gonna die, but anyways, they go to the Upside Down where the military is also at, and well, first they see a wall, which is a crazy wall. We don't know what this wall is, but they can't get through it. None of them can get through it. So we don't know at that point what it is. Later down the episode, we see that they go into the military room and they see this room where they think potentially Vecna is, but instead of Vecna, it's actually her sister Kelly, who is from season 2, episode 7. A lot of people know that episode. That's probably the worst episode of Stranger Things, just because of how off it is, and maybe the timing as well, and the pacing of how it started. But she's back, right? And so it kind of ends on that cliffhanger with them. But then we see probably one of the best scenes in all of Stranger Things is Vecna coming out of the Upside Down with all the military, with all the kids. He's having his Vader moment, which they said that was actually the inspiration for Vecna coming out. And he's going crazy. He's juiced up. He has a whole different look. He's looking more Carnage-y, and he is just going crazy. He's got an arm now that he can just stretch out and just kill people with that. And he does that a lot of times, and he is just going absolutely insane. It's probably like one of my favorite parts of the whole entire show. And this is when we see Will's special moment, and he just takes 3 Demodogs because he's connected to the hive mind. That's such a cool thing that happened in the show. I absolutely love that. Will having the abilities to control the Demogorgons as well as Vecna. So now let's cut to volume 2. I think volume 2, which a lot of people don't like, this is more about lore building. So that's why a lot of people don't like volume 2 as much, because there's just a lot of lore that's being, said. Not much happens in this volume, although we do get Steve and we get Dustin making up, and they're all good now. And then we get Nancy, and then we get Jonathan making up as well, as they're about to die into, all this goo, which we still don't know what that's about. I have no idea what all that goo is. I have no ideas. And I don't even think they explain that, which is kind of odd, but they make up. They're all good. There's some tension between Hopper and Kelly, and also Eleven, because Eleven just does not like Hopper at the moment because he was going to sacrifice himself. And then Hopper is just iffy about Kelly because, she's making 11 trying to, sacrifice herself as well. And, of course, he doesn't like that because he wants to be the one to sacrifice himself. It's just a lot of, back and forth. And we have Kelly saying, 11, hey, you got to sacrifice yourself once we go into the Upside Down, once we blow up this whole Upside Down and stuff like that. So that is something that makes us as audience not like Kelly, because why is she putting that in her head? You know what I'm saying? I get her motive, I really do, but after all they're going through, that's just not the move. It's really not. So we see that, and I think, like I said, it's a lot of lore building in this volume. Not much to say, except that now we know that Will can actually tap into Vecna and actually control Vecna, which we do see quite often, and it's so cool. Those ones are so cool. I think just the way he poses when he's using his sorcerer powers, it's such a cool take on it. I'm glad he doesn't do the original 11 pose, because that's her own thing, and it's not like it's coming from him. It's more that he's taking the power and just, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like his power, but he's taking it from them because they are the source. The hive mind is what's giving him the power. So that's a cool take on it. The finale is something that I didn't know exactly what to expect. What I wanted was a whole Avengers Endgame setting. So we know 11 has powers. We know Kelly has powers, and we know that Will has powers now, because when he's in the Upside Down, when he's connected to the hive mind, he can do some serious damage. So what I really wanted was all the Demogorgons, all the Demodogs, and all the Demobats, and then Vecna, of course, to be in that Endgame setting, like Thanos, and where they're all just there, and then it's them 3 going at it. And then what I also wanted was the military to be involved and help them instead of them being the issue, and not helping the crew. I really wanted them to be involved in it, and so they can have an Endgame standoff where they just go crazy at the last moments. But obviously we didn't get that. I still like the way they ended the season. They went to the abyss, or they call it, I forgot exactly what they call it, but into this world where Vecna is being held, where he has his lair, and where he is keeping the kids captive. And that's where they have their final battle. they all go, the kids, Steve, Jonathan, all those guys, they all go to that place and they try and track down Vecna, and they come across this big old monster, and also Eleven's there as well, and she faces off Vecna and she kills off Vecna. But I think a lot of people misunderstand that. Yes, it was kind of like quick how they ended the battle, and I do wish there was a little bit more hand-to-hand combat into this. I think that would have been cool, just seeing them go at it like punching. But of course they have powers, they're not really going to use that. Which I understand as well. But it did end a little bit fast, which is something I didn't like entirely. But we have to recognize that they've been fighting Vecna forever, They had a plan, and they know that if they hurt the monster, then they're, hurting Vecna as well, because he's connected as well. So, which helps. And then we have Will, who's also connected to Vecna, who helps Eleven in the end and just completely takes off his arm. Like, that's so cool. And I remember when he did that. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the season as well, is at the end when he controls Vecna and just takes off his arm. Like, that's such a cool moment in the show. And it makes sense as to why he kind of lost that quick, because he was basically getting ganged up on. The only reason I don't like all that is that there was no Demodogs. There was no Demogorgons. There was no Demobats. There was nothing except for that monster. Now, granted, that monster should have been enough to at least kill one person, but that monster does not touch anybody at all. There's been some close calls, but overall, the Duffer Brothers just was playing it really safe. And even with Steve, too, because they didn't even kill him off, which I thought they were going to. And they did tease that a little bit, where he almost died, but they didn't do that at all. And it's obvious they played it super safe, which a lot of people don't like, because where are the stakes? The only one who really died was Kelly, and people say 11 as well, because, but I mean, it's open. The ending is open, and that's how they ended it, with the open ending, because they have 11 who died but also didn't die, which I believe she didn't die, because I mean, the story that Mike told makes sense. His theory makes sense. Now, a lot of people don't believe that. Even cast doesn't believe she's alive. But I think they're going to bring her back like in 10 years or so, or 20 years, however long they wait until to make like maybe a movie or another season. Nonetheless, that's how they ended the show. As a whole, that whole season it had its ups and downs. It was like a roller coaster, it just was not. It wasn't as strong as I thought it was. I thought they ended the show, the last episode. I thought it was good. I personally enjoyed it. I do think, though, that I seen a lot of fan stories on the internet, on TikTok, that showed a way better ending than what the Duffer Brothers did. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say sad, but it sucked that some of the fans kind of did a better ending than the Duffer Brothers did. And I don't know. Overall, this season, I thought it was good. Wasn't great. I thought it ended off pretty good. I thought it could have been better. And I think that's the whole point of the season, is that I felt that it could have been better. And that's something that you don't want to really happen, because Conformity Gate happened after the finale. And that's not good, because we had a lot of fans who just really didn't like the ending. That's why they made up this theory, because there was a lot of plot holes as well. A lot of things that didn't make sense, a lot of unanswered questions. And a lot of people felt that wasn't the real ending, which is a testament to how, I don't want to say bad, but how it's just, I guess, bad the ending was to a lot of people, because it was so bad to them that they made up this theory to say, you know what, no, there's one more episode, and this was all just Vecna, brainwashing everybody, which would have been super cool, by the way, if that was true, the Conformity Gate theory. But it was just a lot of fans being delusional at the fact that they didn't like the last episode, so they thought that the Duffer Brothers did this. So, but obviously that wasn't the case, and it sucks, but that's just the way it is. And overall, I think this season was like maybe like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. Maybe that's being generous, but I personally did like it. I didn't think it was the worst thing at all, and I did like a lot of the parts in the season. But overall, I'm just glad they didn't kill Steve. Let's be honest. So the season is a W. We seen him at the end, and we see all of them kind of like do their own thing, and Steve's a coach. So that's cool. And then we see all these individual everyone kind of doing their own thing after graduation, and Hopper's back into being a chief and just stuff like that. So it's cool that some of these characters get their, happy endings, and that's basically what it was, kind of like a happy ending. But overall as a show, this show's top 5. This show's top 5. I know it didn't end the way everyone wanted it to, but we can't ignore the last 4 seasons of Stranger Things. Peak, absolutely peak, and it's in my top 5 for sure. So yeah, guys, that is my thoughts on this season, and I guess I kind of gave you my thoughts at the end of the show as a whole. But this season, it had its ups and downs. Wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst as well. So yeah, overall, good. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Did you guys like this season? I know there's gonna be mixed, reactions and the mixed views on this season, but I'm interested into seeing what you guys have to say about this season, or in particular what you would have done differently. So let me know in the comments down below. It's been Jeremy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.